going on, people? LP2000 right back at you with another video. Yes, welcome back to the Lesson Chambers Kaiju Reviews on behalf of Summit Kaiju. And today we're doing another X Plus setup video. Yes, devoted to my second most favorite Kaiju film or Godzilla film of all time, Godzilla vs. Gigan, or how it was known when it came over here in the United States back in the day, Godzilla on Monster Island. As you can see, I have all the monsters from this epic movie right here, you know what I mean? And yes, we're gonna dive head first into this movie, as well as the figures here and all that good stuff. And this is the third edition of X Plus setups that I've been doing on my channel as of late. The first one was devoted to all the monsters from Destroy All Monsters, the monster lineup from Destroy All Monsters. The second one was devoted to Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. And now we're doing Godzilla versus Gigan, you know. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this, because at the time of this recording, it is August 5th, 2018. And come Tuesday of this week, we will be approaching, or it will be the anniversary of the passing of Haruo Nakajima. Of course, you know, who played Godzilla in this film, who played Godzilla from 1954 all the way up into this film, as well as other famous Toho creatures like Rodan in 56, Gyra and Water Gargantuas, Varan and Varan Unbelievable, Mogera in the Mysterians, King Kong from King Kong Escapes. You know, arguably the best and greatest suit actor ever to don the costume of a kaiju, you know, of our beloved kaijus, Haruo Nakajima. And yes, we're approaching the 1-year anniversary of his passing. And I know last year I made a tribute video to him, along with a lot of other G YouTubers out there like Gojira 851, Gojifan 93, you know, just to show our respects and honor to the man himself. But since here it is a year later, and you know, since last year, most of our videos just was more of a somber tone, because of course we were upset and just saddened by the news of his passing. But you know what? We're going to celebrate. You know, I mean, of course, we're still upset that he's gone. But you know what? We're not going to have a somber tone in this video. We're gonna honor him. We're going to celebrate his life. We're going to celebrate the work, the just awesome work that he did, and just how he made all of our childhoods better. And I couldn't think of a better film to talk about that in his electrifying performance as Godzilla in Godzilla vs. Gigan. Ironically, the last time he will play Godzilla is in this film, you know. So that's the reason why I'm doing X Plus setups today. Now, you know how we do things around here when it comes to X Plus setups. I'm going to talk about the figures, how I come to collect them, and then I'll talk about the movie at hand. Let's see, who should I start with? Godzilla. Let's start with Godzilla King of the Monsters, okay? The reason why we're here, right? And of course, this is the 1968 Godzilla it's the 1968 Godzilla 3rd centimeter from X Plus. It was originally released, I believe, 2010. Then it was released twice in 2014 through Diamond, and it was also reissued through X Plus, and it was a Rick exclusive figure that had light up dorsal plates, which illuminated white from his dorsal plates, you know. And of course, this is the Diamond reissue, and I've already talked about this figure as well as King Ghidorah and Gigan in Destroy All Monsters X Plus setup video, as well. I talked about King Ghidorah again in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. So I'm gonna just give a short versions when it comes to Godzilla, Anguirus, and King Ghidorah. Gigan is the only one that I have not gotten to yet, but we will get to him last, you know what I mean? But yes, Godzilla 3rd centimeter 1968. I love this figure. When I got it from Diamond, I ended up getting 3 of them because they were cheap at the time. And considering, like I said, this figure was dropped in 2010 originally, and up until 2014 when we saw the reissue of him come back twice, I just took it upon myself to get 3, and the price that I paid for all 3 of them through Diamond was still cheaper than what I've seen this figure go for in the aftermarket since 2010. So yeah, I love this figure. As a matter of fact, I love this figure more so than 25 centimeter Godzilla 1968. Don't get me wrong, it's a great figure, but I just like this one better. You know, it's based off a Monster Maker 28 kit. X Plus basically just took that kit and made it into a vinyl version. They didn't change anything about it. It just basically is the exact same thing like the kit, but it's just in vinyl. And I love this pose. This pose is very very it just shows the heroic nature of Godzilla, especially from all four of the films he was in. Of course, his suit was used to destroy all monsters, Godzilla's Revenge, Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster, and of course Godzilla vs. Gigan. And this pose really exemplifies the movements of this Godzilla in all those films. He was very dynamic. His personality was really just off the charts, you know? And I like how he's roaring back, you know, like he's roaring backwards. He's looking up at his opponents, which is kind of like poetic, because if you look at the opponents that he faced in all four of the films that he was in, his main villain in Destroy All Monsters was obviously King Ghidorah. In Godzilla's Revenge, it was Ghidorah. In Godzilla vs. Hydra, it was Hydra. And in this film, it was Gigan and King Ghidorah. And all those monsters were basically taller than Godzilla himself. So I like how in this pose he's looking upwards at his opponents, which is kind of more appropriate since all the opponents that he did face was taller than him or bigger than him. So I really do like that. All right, let's go to Anguirus. Yes, I love Anguirus, and of course this is the diamond reissue of Anguirus. It was originally dropped, I want to say, in 2009 originally. Then it came back in 2012, and then it came back through Diamond January 2016, and that's where I got this figure, you know. And once again, Diamond has been like a godsend to us collectors that got on the party train of X Plus kind of a little bit late, and it's just it's just been good to get all these figures that we missed out upon, you know, by us getting into the game a little bit late, especially in my case. And I'm glad that Diamond saw that there was a need or a market for these figures, and they decided to come back with these great figures for affordable prices, you know, which is good. And as far as like Anguirus, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I think this is the best Anguirus ever from X Plus. Nothing against the 25 centimeter 68, nothing against the 25 and 30 centimeter of the 55 Anguirus, but this to me is the quintessential Anguirus piece. You know, hopefully we'll get more Anguirus pieces like from Final Wars. Yes, I do like Anguirus from Final Wars. Not too high up on the movie, but I do like Anguirus from Final Wars. But as far as like the quintessential piece of Anguirus, this is the piece for you. You know what I mean? Now let's go to King Ghidorah. Of course, I talked about King Ghidorah before in other videos, so I'll be short here. This is the 1968 25 centimeter King Ghidorah from Destroy All Monsters. It was dropped, I want to say, late 2014 going into 2015, and of course I already talked about the problems with it, with the shipping from Ami and that whole unfortunate fiasco, so I won't go into it here. But knock on wood, I got this figure intact despite the shipping issues, and it's a great figure. And as a matter of fact, this figure is the only figure that has been in every single one of my X Plus setups videos. So you see a pattern here. That's how important that this King Ghidorah figure is to my collection. Because for one, I'm a huge King Ghidorah fan. And when it comes to setups, because you know I'm huge into setups, this King Ghidorah is vital for so many different setups. With this one, Ghidorah the 3-headed monster, Monster Zero, you know what I mean? Or if you want to go with the Heisei Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, he's vital for that. Until we get a Heisei King Ghidorah, or until we get like a 1964 King Ghidorah, you know, to make those setups, this is a great King Ghidorah stand-in, you know? And before I get into Gigan, I know of what a lot of folks are thinking. Leslie, Godzilla, Anguirus, and Gigan are 30 centimeters, but King Ghidorah is 25. And I said this before on the X Plus Collectors Facebook group or club, or whatever the heck we're calling ourselves nowadays. And I'll say it again here. If you watch Godzilla vs. Gigan, and trust me, I watched this film numerous times enough to know that in this film, King Ghidorah is not as big as he was in Monster Zero and Ghidorah 3-headed monster. I would even venture to say that he's not as big as he was in Destroy All Monsters. He's kind of slimmed down a bit, you know, he was kind of scaled down a little bit, you know, and rightfully so, since in this film, King Ghidorah has backup in Gigan, and Godzilla and Anguirus are pretty much the underdogs. So King Ghidorah couldn't really be as big as he was, because that is already set against Godzilla and Anguirus anyway. But they slimmed down the suit. I even heard some people say this actually is the same suit from Ghidorah the 3-headed monster and Monster Zero, and it's not. I'm sorry, it's not. Just look at the suit from Ghidorah 3-headed monster and Monster Zero, and look at this suit. You can tell there's a difference. There's a difference on the horns. Just the whole mass of the suit in 72 is slimmed down a little bit. you know? And Godzilla, you know, he's kind of like scaled up in comparison to King Ghidorah in this film. But still, I think the setup still works because still, King Ghidorah is still the biggest monster out of all of them. You know what I mean? So I think it works. And I know there are a lot of folks out there, especially collectors out there, that are OCD about the right figures going with the other right figures, and the sizes have to be basically just the way they were on screen. You know what I mean? But if you look here, it looks really, really, really good. As a matter of fact, here are a few other examples where you can mix figures from the 25 centimeter line, 30 centimeter gigantics, or whatever, and create great, great setups. So why don't you check this out? Okay, folks, I'm back, and as you can see, you can take random figures from different lines and put them together and create different setups, different great setups. They may not be 100% size accurate or movie accurate, but the effect of them all being there, the look of them all being there, is there. You know what I mean? And this is no different. So if you have all these figures, don't be ashamed to put your King Ghidorah with this setup or think that he's too small in comparison to the other monsters. But if you watch Godzilla vs. Gigan, you can clearly see King Ghidorah is, you know, he's down size-wise in comparison to the other King Ghidorahs. And I think the setup works. You know what I mean? Now, let's go to Gigan. Yes, Gigan. Woo! I love Gigan. I really do. Such an awesome monster in terms of design as well as performance. This is the 30 centimeter Gigan. It's the Rip Boy nonetheless with the light up visor. It first came out in 2010. Then it was released as a poly resin that same year, 2010. Then it was released in a year later in 2011 at Wonderfest as a special nighttime version where they had like a darker paint scheme. That figure's awesome. I gotta say, that figure's awesome. I know only one person that has that figure, at least one person that's very close to me, and that's Burley Vang. He has one, and oh my God, that thing looks really, really good. Just picture Gigan in like a darker paint scheme, like how he was in the movie, how, you know, because most of the film takes place at night, especially when the monsters come together. So it kind of like reflects that in the figure. You know what I mean? Then it was reissued in 2015 as a light up, which is that's the figure right here. Then it was released through Diamond in 2016. You know, and that's basically it with all the releases of the monsters and blah blah blah. I got, like I said, Godzilla when Diamond came out. I bought 3 of them, 2 for myself, 1 for my wife. Anguirus I got through Diamond in 2016. King Ghidorah I got when it first came out in late 2014, going 2015. And I got the Gigan in 2015 when it first came out. Off of eBay, as a matter of fact. Now, I know that I tend to give eBay a tongue lashing because there are some rapists out there. Let's keep it real. But there are some deals to be had on eBay. I'm not going to lie. The trick is, whenever a certain figure comes out, especially if you miss a pre-order, what you need to do is keep track on when that particular figure is going to be dropping, right? And that's the time when you need to hit up eBay, because by then, once the figures drop, there are going to be some vendors out there that's going to be trying to push these figures out. They got their hands on them, and they're going to be trying to push them out. And at that point, they can't really overcharge, because at that point, they're going to charge what they pay for it, you know, which is, you know, affordable, whatever. It's only when you wait, it's only when you give time for it to be online and aftermarket when it just skyrockets and gets horrendously overpriced. So the trick is, whenever a figure's about to drop, like for example, it's August 5th, 2018, like I mentioned earlier, and the new 30cm favorite sculptor's line, Godzilla 1962, is on its way from Japan to a lot of us collectors here in the States. Hobby Search is sold out, but comb eBay, especially this week. Comb eBay and try to find one for a good price. And I'm sure you will, because that's the trick. You have to wait until the figure comes out, especially if you missed the pre-order window, and then you can use that time and just comb eBay, like I said, and then you'll be able to find these good figures for a good price. Just don't wait too long, because the longer you wait, the more horrendous the prices is going to be in the aftermarket, you know. So that's a trick for you. eBay's not all bad, but you know, there are some times where eBay makes you want to just throw a brick through the computer screen. You know what I mean? So, but yes, these figures look great together. Once again, it's a killer setup. Like I said, King Ghidorah is such a vital component for this setup and other setups I have. And of course, I'm biased because I am a huge King Ghidorah fan, but you know, you can't deny that all four of these figures look so great together. You know what I mean? And yes, I love Godzilla's Gigan. Let's go into the film, you know, and we'll wrap this review up, or this video up. A lot of noteworthy aspects as come to this movie. And I know a lot of folks tend to look down upon this movie because it was made in the 70s, because it was made during a time where the Godzilla movies budgets were getting slashed in half, you know, so they had half the budget to tell a great Godzilla story, and I applaud them for their efforts. You know, I love the 70s films. I make no bones about the fact that when it comes to my favorite era of Godzilla films, I have to go with the 70s. Nothing against the 60s, even though my favorite film is from the 60s, Mothra vs. Godzilla, 1964. And I love the Heisei period. I love the Millennium period. But if you were to pin me down and ask me what favorite era of films do I love the most, and I have to go with the 70s. I love the 70s films. They're fun. They're over the top. They're kind of silly. But you know what? That's the whole thing. They're fun. And I love them to death. You know, I have so much love for the 70s films. I have a feeling I'm not the only one out there that does, you know. But this film does have its flaws. It does have its problems. You know, Godzilla Anguirus talking, or in the Japanese version, they converse like, you know, people in comic books converse with the balloons, with the words in them and stuff like that. Just the over-reliance of stock footage. The fact that the stock footage doesn't really flow together between, you know, the stock footage and what's happening in the movie real time, you know. But despite all that, and despite maybe the cast is not that memorable, you know, despite the fact that, you know, all these things that some people think that work against the film, I'm sorry, I cannot bring myself to hate this film. And it's very, very noteworthy. Like for example, it's the first time that we see Godzilla bleed. Like in Mechagodzilla 1974. As a matter of fact, it's a kinship between this film and that film. Think about it. In both films, Godzilla faces off against a Godzilla-like creature that's very similar to himself. You know, in this film, he faces the Godzilla Tower. In Mechagodzilla, he faces off against the Impulsor Godzilla, which then becomes Mechagodzilla. You know, you have that there. Both films, like I mentioned, or at least I mentioned with Godzilla here in this film, he bleeds profusely in this film. He even bleeds more in 1974, you know. Both films, Godzilla faces off against very vicious and just highly volatile cyborg. Gigan here, Mechagodzilla in 74. You know, both films feature a fight scene that takes place in an oil refinery, you know, you know what I'm saying? In 1972 in Gigan, you know, all four monsters, when they first come together, they fight in an oil refinery, which is a killer scene, by the way. And when Godzilla faces off against Mechagodzilla, or the Impulsor Godzilla, for the first time, the fight takes place in an oil refinery. So I find it very, very ironic that both these films have somewhat similarities or traits between the two films, which is awesome. You know, like I said, the film is noteworthy. Gigan I'm talking about now, for Godzilla bleeding for the first time, which I know Eiji Tsuburaya, you know, the guy that the special effects wizard that composed the special effects for the majority of these films up until his passing in 1969 or 70, I believe. And he didn't want any kind of like violence, monster violence in the films. You know, he was very against that. He was very against bloodshed and all that good stuff. And I know that if he were alive around this time, because like I said, he passed in 1969 or 70. This film takes place in 1972. He probably would not have gone for the scene where Godzilla bleeds, when Gigan cuts him, on his shoulder and then cuts him in his face. I don't think that he would have went for that. And I'm sure he wouldn't have went for Godzilla bleeding Mechagodzilla, you know what I mean? But it's very noteworthy that Godzilla bleeds for the first time, and it shows how dangerous Gigan is, you know what I mean? This film is very noteworthy where, as far as Anguirus is concerned, this film solidified Anguirus being Godzilla's right-hand man, his do-or-die kaiju that I've said before. This film alone does that. Now, he does help out Godzilla in destroying monsters, but it was a collective effort between Godzilla, Anguirus, Gorosaurus, Mothra, Minya, yeah, I'm gonna throw Minya in there, and all the other monsters, So it was a collective effort that all the monsters together and destroy a monster took down King Ghidorah. In this film, it really just solidifies that Anguirus is Godzilla's right-hand man. His do-or-die kaiju. He's down for Godzilla. With Rodan and Monster Zero and Ghidorah Three-Headed Monster, you got the sense that, obviously, let's face it, they didn't really care for each other. You know what I mean? Even though they were controlled in Monster Zero. But I got the sense that Rodan can't stand Godzilla, but yet he's willing to do the job with him, but it's not like afterwards they're going to be, getting beers at a radioactive power plant, whatever, you know what I mean? It's not like they're going to be friends. They're just monsters that if they share a common bond, they will, fulfill that bond. But other than that, they don't have any kind of connection towards each other. Whereas Anguirus, you can tell he's down for the big G. And I really do like that, you know what I mean? It's also very noteworthy, once again, like I said, this is the last appearance for Haruo Nakajima as Godzilla. This is the last time he will fulfill this role, This is also the last time we will see King Ghidorah. Yes, we will see my favorite villain of King Ghidorah ever in a Godzilla film. Now, he did show up a year later in 1973 in the TV show Zone Fighter, and he does appear briefly in both Mechagodzilla films later on, but it's via stock footage. But this is the last official appearance of King Ghidorah in the Godzilla film, so that's very noteworthy. And also, lastly, just even though they faced each other in the previous film, Godzilla vs. Ghidorah, I'm talking about Haruo Nakajima as Godzilla and Kenpachiro Satsuma as Ghidorah. Well, they will also face each other again in this film, where, of course, Nakajima is Godzilla, but this time Kenpachiro Satsuma plays Gigan. And I think it's very poetic that, it's just the last time these two iconic suit actors will meet. And it's very ironic that later on, Kenpachiro Satsuma will go on to play Godzilla in the Heisei role. So it's like when you see Godzilla and Gigan fight each other, and knowing that it's Satsuma and Gigan and Nakajima and Godzilla, it's kind of like a passing of the torch. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I sure do. That it's like a passing of the torch. And of course, Satsuma was great as Godzilla in the Heisei period. I met him at G-Fest a couple weeks ago. Great guy. And so I just found that very, very noteworthy, But this film is so awesome. I love it. Like I said, I know the problems with it. The over-reliance of stock footage. Godzilla and Anguirus talking. The cast is not really that memorable. It's just, I know all the things that work against it, but I still can't bring myself to hate this film. And there are 5 things that I love so much and why I recommend this film so much. And I'm going to go through 5 things. First and foremost, the Godzilla Tower. That thing is awesome. X Plus, if you're listening, or Mr. G. Okamoto, if you're listening, we would love a 30cm Godzilla Tower. Either make it a Rick exclusive, just a tower by itself, or give a standard version of the Godzilla Tower, make the Rick version have like a blue light in his mouth, to simulate him shooting out the laser beams. That thing is amazing, and the fact that it doesn't really do anything until like the very, very end. So I like the fact of the Godzilla Tower being there, because even when Godzilla is not on screen, they show the Godzilla Tower a lot. So even if you don't have the real Godzilla on screen, Godzilla's presence is throughout the film. And I like that, whether it's Godzilla himself or the Godzilla Tower. And at the very end, when Godzilla, let's face it, Godzilla and Anguirus are fighting an uphill battle. Now, I've said this numerous times before, that if there ever was a time for Godzilla to lose, it should have been in this film. Because you have King Ghidorah, it's basically a one-army monster by itself. Now he has backup in Gigan. And then once, in that particular sequence where King Ghidorah is like making wind gusts with his wings, right? He's trying to disorient Godzilla, while Anguirus is incapacitated. Gigan swoops in, do a loop-de-loop like 3 or 4 times, and basically bashes Godzilla in the back of the head, almost giving him a concussion. And Godzilla is just, he's weary, he's disoriented, and they're pushing him towards the Godzilla tower. And that's when the Godzilla towers revealed how dangerous he is. And he shoots that laser beams in Godzilla's face, and Godzilla screams in agony. That's another thing about that. I don't know about y'all, but I feel uneasy when I hear Godzilla screaming in agony. Between that, between him screaming in pain when he bleeds profusely in Mechagodzilla, or when he falls into the volcano in Godzilla 1985, there's something about Godzilla's scream that makes me feel like, oh, like you really feel for him, So that sequence is really, really awesome, It's really an uphill battle because Godzilla has to face not 1, not 2, but basically 3 opponents that's almost attacking him at the same time. And then Anguirus, God bless his soul, Anguirus, once again, a do-or-die kaiju for Godzilla. He sees Godzilla in trouble, and he's trying to make his way towards him, but Gigan is blocking his way, and he gets his head sliced up for it. That is just a really, really, really great scene. So once again, the Godzilla Tower, I love it. And it's really, really, really an iconic structure, and it's really an iconic piece of the film, Number 2, the music. Oh my God. This score, I maintain, is like the best soundtrack ever in a Godzilla film, because it's taking tracks from other previous great kaiju films scored by the master himself, Akira Ifukube, and what they picked and the scenes that the music is inserted in the film, it sounds really, really awesome. Music taken from epic films like Mothra vs. Godzilla, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, I believe Atragon, King Kong Escapes, Frankenstein Conquers the World, Destroy All Monsters. Oh my God, just an epic soundtrack. And I love the soundtrack. The music is just, music can be a character too, believe it or not. Music can just make a scene that is good, make it better. Like the scene when when King Ghidorah and Gigan are terrorizing the city, and Godzilla and Anguirus are on their way from Monster Island, and they play that theme from Destroy All Monsters, the final fight scene theme in Destroy All Monsters. Then when Godzilla and Anguirus appear in Tokyo Bay to confront King Ghidorah and Gigan, they play the theme from Mothra vs. Godzilla when Godzilla attacks the tower in Mothra vs. Godzilla. It's just every piece of music that is inserted in Gigan is perfect. So once again, great soundtrack. Number 2, I'm sorry, I'm just excited. A great soundtrack. You know what I mean? Number 3. Let's see, where should I go to? Number 3. Gigan. Yes, Gigan. Such an awesome monster. Yes, he is. He's such an awesome monster. Now, the first time I ever saw Gigan was in my first Godzilla film, Godzilla vs. Megalon. And let's just say he looks good, and he's a great fighter. But when I saw Godzilla vs. Gigan, I was like, wait a minute, this is like a different Gigan. He was more vicious, he was more volatile, which is kind of ironic because the pre-production of this film, Gigan wasn't the monster to beat. Actually, this was a vehicle to bring back King Ghidorah, and Gigan was going to be the sidekick. King Ghidorah was going to be the main villain to beat, but they decided to change up and made Gigan the focal point and King Ghidorah like in the background. That's why there are moments in the film where you see King Ghidorah in the background not doing anything, and the focus is on Gigan. Because Gigan is awesome in this film. Like I said, he's very, very ravenous. He's very, very volatile. He's dangerous. From him making Godzilla bleed, from his forehead to his shoulder blade. The fact he sliced Anguirus up and just kept on bashing him on the head with his claws or whatever. This is like the best performance of Gigan. Nothing against Godzilla vs. Megalon, nothing against his appearance in Final Wars. But if you want the best version of Gigan, is this right here. This version right here. You know what I mean? Number 4, the fight scene. I maintain to this day that Godzilla vs. Gigan, in my opinion, features the best fight scene ever in a kaiju film. And that says a lot when you have other kaiju films feature epic fight scenes, like Godzilla Raise Again. That featured epic fight scene. King Kong versus Godzilla. Ghidorah 3 the Monster with Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. The final fight scene from Destroy All Monsters. The final fight scene in Terror Mechagodzilla. You know, Godzilla vs. Destroyer. Or the fight scene in GMK. You know, to me, this movie features the best fight scene ever. You know, and that's the thing. I know the film, there's kind of like a period, especially in the build-up to the monster action, where some people may find the film boring. I don't. I think the film story is really, really, really good. But once the monsters come in, and once they come on screen, the action is non-stop. Non-stop. From King Ghidorah and Gigan attacking the city. Godzilla and Anguirus coming from Monster Island. They all confront each other at the ore refinery. Then they all confront each other and have a melee brawl at the amusement park where the Godzilla Tower is. It's like non-stop action once the monsters come into the fray, or once they come on screen. And I like that. And there are certain things about the fight scene that I really do enjoy. You know, just the fact that and that's the thing, for a film to be called Godzilla vs. Gigan, if you really watch the film, Godzilla doesn't really fight with Gigan that much. As a matter of fact, when they first oppose each other at the ore refinery, King Ghidorah is the first one that Godzilla attacks. And really in the fight scene, the overall fight scene, Anguirus fights more with Gigan than Godzilla does. You know, of course Godzilla and Gigan do fight, but they don't really fight as much, even though the title will lead you to believe that Godzilla and Gigan were going to be fighting the whole time. But then again, Godzilla vs. Megalon kind of did the same thing, because Godzilla and Gigan ironically fought more than Godzilla fought Megalon and Godzilla vs. Megalon. You know? But my favorite part of the fight scene is when Godzilla, and this had nothing to do with Gigan ironically, when Godzilla grabs King Ghidorah and puts him in the full Nelson, has all his 3 heads in the full Nelson, and Anguirus is doing that backward body slam 3 times, and Godzilla's like, come on, do it, do it. That's awesome. Then on top of that, Godzilla suplexes King Ghidorah, not once, but 3 times, and then stomps on his head, so his neck, which is stock footage from Destroy All Monsters, but still, the overall effect is there, and it's awesome. That right there is like my favorite part of the fight scene. When Godzilla gets King Ghidorah in a full Nelson, and then have Anguirus do that backwards body slam, and then he does that suplex and slams him like 3 times. That to me is awesome. But aside from that, a great, great fight scene, and in my opinion, the best fight scene ever in a Godzilla film, in Godzilla vs. Gigan. And finally, Godzilla himself, or the performance of Haruo Nakajima as Godzilla in this film. And for what I understand, for the research that I have dug into, after the passing of Eiji Tsuburaya, it's reported that Haruo Nakajima just basically lost his passion. I don't want to say lost his passion. I think that's like a bad phrase to put it. He just didn't have the enthusiasm to want to be Godzilla anymore. And in fact, he had to be talked into coming back for not only the Smog Monster, for this film as well. But after this, he decided just to hang it up. But it's like, when you watch Godzilla vs. Smog Monster as well as this film, you can't tell that Nakajima is without his passion. Godzilla is very energetic in both Smog Monster and this film. And it's like, you really get behind Godzilla in this film. That's one thing I always praise the 70s films for. Aside the fact that they're colorful, they're fun, they feature outlandish, over-the-top monsters that are really, really awesome, very captivating. But they were able, in each film, maybe with the exception of Megalon, to stack the deck against Godzilla. Because basically in the 60s, Godzilla basically ran through all his opposition. You know, especially in the Heisei period. But in the 70s with Hedra, you know, the team of Gigan and King Ghidorah, Mechagodzilla in 74, and Mechagodzilla and Titanosaurus in 75, they really put Godzilla in a position that made you question as a viewer, how is Godzilla going to overcome this? You know, and this is like one of the best examples of that, because Godzilla and Anguirus, for the majority of the fight, gets their butts handed to them by King Ghidorah and Gigan. Even after when the Godzilla Tower blows up, and you see Godzilla struggling to get to his feet because he's just been bombarded with lasers from the Godzilla Tower. He got bashed in the head by Gigan earlier. He's been beaten down by King Ghidorah, and Godzilla is just scrambling to get to his feet. And that's awesome acting by Haruo Nakajima, you know. And then when he gets his second win, and you know, he just basically just takes down both King Ghidorah and Gigan, you know, with help from Anguirus. It's just an awesome performance, you know. It's just an awesome performance. And like I said, it's just, I'm glad that that Nakajima went out on a high note, and this really is a high note. His performance in Gigan is such a high note, despite the issues you may have with it, despite the issues that it may suffer from, you know, whatever. I think Godzilla vs. Gigan, of all its flaws, I think the best thing about Godzilla vs. Gigan, despite the fact it features a colorful story, it features a great villain or the introduction of villain of Gigan, you know, the story of Anguirus being Godzilla's right-hand man and best friend is basically just solidified in this film. All these things, all these great things in this film, I think that this film deserves a lot of credit for making the most out of a bad situation. Because like I said, the budget for the 70s films were basically cut in half for what they were from the 60s. So they had to use a lot of stock footage to get these films done. They had to use like corner cutting and these special effects to get these movies done. You know, but despite all these issues, I cannot bring myself to hate this film. And I highly recommend this film. This film is so awesome. And this film I could watch every single day. It's just so fun. You know, it's just so fun to watch. And it features just my favorite villain of Godzilla in this film, some of my favorite music of Godzilla, my favorite fight scene of Godzilla, all that is in this awesome film, and I highly recommend you watch it, Godzilla vs. Gigan. Alright, so that pretty much concludes my video of X Plus setups with the 30cm Godzilla 1968, the 30cm Anguirus 1968, the 25cm King Ghidorah 1968, and the 30cm Gigan 1972 Ripboard to comprise this epic film of Godzilla vs. Gigan. You have any questions, holler me down in the comment section, or hit me from Facebook via Leslie P. Chambers. We'll definitely go from there. Yes, I'm loving this. Woo! Yes, I'm not done with the X Plus setups. You know, I got maybe 2 more ideas. I know one's going to be voted towards Monster Zero, so be on the lookout for that real soon. But yes, like I mentioned before, this video is more so just to celebrate the life of Haruo Nakajima. And I know last year in my video, in my tribute to him, I did say that I was going to watch Mothra vs. Godzilla in his honor. And I did that night. So, in his honor, this year, I will be watching Godzilla vs. Gigan. And I recommend that you do too. If not Godzilla vs. Gigan, watch one of his other epic films. Water Gargantuars, The Mysterians, The Original Godzilla 1954, King Kong vs. Godzilla, Monster Zero, Godzilla vs. Sea Monster, Godzilla vs. Smog Monster, Destroyer Monsters. You know, there's so much to choose from to see his epic work on film. And like I said, let's not be sad. Let's be happy. Let's honor this great man of Haruo Nakajima by watching one of his great kaiju films, you know, from the Showa period. But I highly recommend this film. I highly recommend this film. Alright, so once again, thank y'all so much for watching. A lot of reviews are coming. The Sakai 54, 25cm and 30cm for Ron. I got a favorite sculptor's line, Godzilla 1962, coming within like a week or so. Space Godzilla with the Rip Boy set of Little Godzilla, the Sakai Shin, the 30cm Jet Jaguar. I got a couple Death Reels on pre-order, the 84 GMK, the 1962. And of course, I got a couple live stream ideas I want to get off the ground. So there are a lot of stuff that's coming here on the channel. Please stay tuned. And thank y'all so much for supporting me, bring me to where I am today. You know, this is so much fun. This is so much fun. And I thank y'all so much for doing this and supporting me. Because without y'all, I know it's a cliche, without y'all, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have the motivation to do what I do. Alright, so sit back and relax and let's enjoy the ride on Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews. Alright? So I thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see y'all again on that Figure and Move review. Alright? Y'all take it easy.
Boku